back to Real with Omar. This episode will be called Where We At? Because I have a good friend of mine here, my publisher, who's on the show. You've seen him before about 3 years ago. A lot of life has lifed since that. Catch that? Life has lifed since that time. Jermaine Miller from Jermain Publishing. He's an author. He's a speaker.
It's an honor to be here.
Yo, happy
you
you made it to the Bronx, to the
man,
HQ.
we in the Bronx.
Hope.
I'm proud of you.
Thank
all
you.
your success.
Thank you.
Everything that you're doing. This is phenomenal, my brother.
All the work.
I love this.
Yeah.
This is what I love to see.
And the fact is that we've been around each other for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Before my surgery, a lot of shit,
Yep.
COVID, all that shit. So where you at now? I know you're a single father. First of all, let's talk about this. Let's talk about.
Right.
I don't know if you want to say this, but I'll say it.
I don't mind.
I'm 50. How old are you?
45.
45.
Yep.
We are on our fitness journeys
Yes.
right now, right?
Yes.
You see it on the stories.
Yes.
You see what's going on. What I know you said you saw a picture of yourself, you didn't like it.
Yeah.
What started it for you?
Well, really.
You've always been a little jacked.
Right.
Right, okay.
But really, I was working out prior to this movement, and I would always kind of just really get in shape when I was going away.
Okay.
I know
For an event.
many people do that.
It's my
All right,
birthday.
I'm going away in 90 days. I'm going to start working out now.
Right.
So that's kind of like how I lived. One morning I was in my bed. It was probably like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and started having like some heart beating. My heart was beating like really crazy.
Really?
So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna let that pass. If this happens again tomorrow, then I gotta run to the emergency room, right? So sure enough.
So you just laying down in
I'm
bed?
laying down calm, you know. Well, not calm. There was some things going on, and I was like, if this happens again tomorrow, I'm going to the emergency room. Now the issue is I got my 3 sons, so like I gotta think when anything is going on, especially with me. So I dropped them off at school, went to emergency room.
But before you run past that, you're a sole father right now. You're raising your sons. You're the sole parent,
dad.
full-time, right? So that,
Yeah.
just so people understand, it's not because you could drop them off somewhere.
Right,
Right?
exactly,
They depend on that. All right, that's a big thing, guys.
Right.
Okay.
So I drop them off at school, rush to the ER. ER, they run scans, tests. Hey, nothing's wrong with you, but you should see a cardiologist.
Okay.
So I go see the cardiologist. They do the stress test, the scans. I'm running on a treadmill. Cardiologist says, hey, based on the scan we saw in the emergency room, if I didn't see the x-ray, this could be a problem, but it's not a problem. I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So she goes, I want you to go get the scan to see if there's anything clogged.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh God, like this is
Now you're
worse
thinking
than
about the
worst.
worst, right?
Yeah. So I go do the scans. They go, I have like 0% clogs in
that's
my,
good news.
so I'm not having a heart attack, right? So cool. So I go do some blood work, come to find out there was a combination of anxiety and high cholesterol.
Okay. Which runs prevalent in
Yes,
African Americans,
yes.
right? Like
So-
diabetes runs prevalent in Latinos. Just
So I'm like,
Culture.
wait a minute, like it was in the 300s.
okay. And what's the regular?
140.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So you double. You
right?
double.
So like, with life and then like eating, not being consistent with all of that stuff, this is years of this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, this is not it for me.
Right.
And I said, I got up the next morning, I called a really good friend of mine. He's in fitness. And I said, listen, man, you're the only person that I think could help me stay motivated through this journey. He's all right. Just get this diet plan
said,
together.
what we're doing, right? What we
this is
need.
what you gotta do immediately. Now, this was powerful because he goes, I want you to take a picture. And I'm like, man, I can't. Like, I want to take a picture after. I don't want to take a picture. He's like, no, I want you to take a picture front, side, and the back, so we know what this progress is.
Those are called progress pictures,
I mean,
guys.
man,
Yeah.
I take this picture. I'm like looking, my face is swollen. I'm like going through the worst part of my life, it seemed like. And I'm like, there's no way, but every day I would get on the Stairmaster.
Right.
Every single
Climbing
day.
to heaven.
Right. I was stairway to heaven. Right. Every day I'm getting on the Stairmaster, and slowly but surely, some days I was on there crying.
Really?
Literally, like, the things that I was experiencing at the time. So, but I felt life changing, like life changing overall. And so few weeks in, few months in, then people start seeing me on the Stairmaster. Now they want to get on the Stairmaster. Right. So then it kind of spirals into this challenge and everybody's losing weight. And I'm like, all right, this is cool. But this is really for me.
Yeah, it's my life.
This is my life. And I wanted it to be a habit that I implemented now that remained for the rest of my life. So fast forward, a year later, because it was like a year ago, I lost 35 pounds.
God bless.
I'm in the best shape of my life.
Yeah.
Eating it stays the same. You know, it's no diet thing. It's just my lifestyle.
It's regimen.
Yeah, it's
it's
my
regimen.
my regimen.
Yeah, absolutely. And the funny part about that is, right, so just to bounce off of that. So my wife hasn't drank in 2 years.
Okay.
I haven't drank in 6 months.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, not that I had a problem, guys.
Yeah,
Before
yeah,
you go
yeah,
into
but
the
still,
AA
yeah,
meetings,
yeah.
it was just, well, I'll say this, right? I was talking to my other boy. We were on vacation last week in Puerto Rico, and he goes, Tommy, you know who you are, but you remain anonymous for everybody else. He's like, yo, why are we thinking about this so much? And I said, well, because we're at a point in our life, we're close to the end in the beginning, brother.
Right,
I said, I want to live to 100, but I'm
Right,
at 50 now, so I'm pretty close to I'm not pretty good, but I'm saying I'm closer to the end than the beginning. So I said, so all these things we took for granted as young,
Right.
we don't take for granted. So people ask me, oh, well, why the alcohol? Well, just to get into a nerdy bodybuilding fact. So alcohol retards your body's ability to synthesize nutrients and protein, right?
Right.
So anything you're doing in the gym, it will delay it,
You're
right? It taxes your liver. It just
We all-
unnecessary
right,
stress on your
right.
body. So no shot at nobody. Do your thing. I'm happy for you, but that's just what I'm doing. Not what I'm doing because I'm starting to see things in a different way. Jermaine and I spoke a little bit off camera where I have a lot of big goals.
Right.
And I don't have the time, bro.
Right,
The recovery, as a
Yeah,
21-year-old,
yes,
I would
yes.
drink and then tomorrow I'm fine.
good.
As
Now,
a 50-year-old,
it's a week.
I drink and I'll see you again. We lose like 7 days of recovery. It's like you're not moving the way you
Right,
move. Your
right.
brain ain't moving the way.
Right.
So to me, it was just a conscious decision. You know, shout out to my wife because she inspired me to do that. And you know, the bodybuilding thing was just after I had my hip surgery, I had to drop weight before I had my hip surgery, and then you're like, yo, why not, right?
Right,
So because now you feel better,
Right.
you're moving better, and I'm still going against programming of like 10 to 15 years of my body telling me I can't do certain things, like squat certain depths. So it's all like a discovery process for me, and getting into finer tune with myself, right? Going back to you crying on a Stairmaster, but you thinking about the connection to yourself, right? And how that goes. And there's not a shot at anybody. Anybody can jump on for a week.
Yes.
Right? And
yes.
and I'm not saying anything is better than nothing.
Right.
But the discipline is the warrior that shows up, rain or shine. Just shout out to Jim Rohn. That was just, you know, that stood in my mind forever. And to be able to make a conscious change and stay with it is a big deal. Most people can stay with something for a week, you know, or a month maybe. You're in a year now, right?
Yeah.
Me, I'm on for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
like
that,
that.
we gone.
Yeah, I went to Puerto Rico. I gained 20 pounds.
Easy.
Yeah,
The sodium,
just to let
the
you guys
salt,
know,
and
you know,
all
I'm
that
a
stuff.
fatty,
Yeah.
but I gotta work it out. I don't want to look like that, you know. And then you see pictures of yourself, you're like, yo, am I fooling myself? No, but your body just grabs all these things, and that's what it becomes a reflection of, right?
I like what you said about discipline, right? Because that's super important. What I did learn in this journey is that every discipline affects the rest of your disciplines, one, and then number two, the same discipline that I use to get up at 4 a.m, to be in the gym at 5, to stay consistent with a diet, to stay consistent working out, to stay consistent with that is the same discipline I can use in my business, my relationship with my children, my relationship with my peers and my colleagues, my relationship with my spirituality. It's the same discipline.
Well, let's talk about that. Like, I'm gonna give you a couple of gems that I've seen,
Right,
right? So you have younger sons. I have
Yes.
older sons. My oldest is 30. My youngest is 20. Gonna be 21. So they're your sons, and you're their dad. That's a given.
Right.
Your influence on them will be heavy certain times and fleeting others because they're not ready to hear you.
Right,
They're not ready to
right,
hear you. The one thing I will tell you, because I'm a future version of yourself as a father, is that it comes and goes, but they always listen. They always watch it.
Yes.
They always watch it.
Yes,
Because
I
they'll
agree.
say my 20-year-old say some wild shit and it's something I've said.
Right.
And I'm like, what'd you hear that? He's like, oh no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Or we're on vacation and he's like, yo, Dad, should I eat this? Like, I'm like, yeah, go ahead. Nah, but I want to start.
Right.
I want to start looking a certain way. Like, he's not telling me I want to look like you. He's
yeah,
just saying I want to look a certain way,
Right.
And my wife also is not super disciplined. She's more disciplined than I am because, well, she just is. And we've had a really profound effect on our circle. Like our friends are all like, yo, should we eat that? They're all going to the gym now, and it's not because of anything, but they I'll quote another friend of mine. He's like, yo, I look kind of goofy in pictures. I don't like the way I look. I was like, so then do something about it. He's like, yo, word. And it becomes that. But going back to you, how your discipline affects your disciplines. you also affect your circumference.
Yes.
You affect the
Yes,
world.
yes.
Right?
Right.
You affect the world. I remember at one point in my life, I think it was 2019. COVID was 2019?
2020.
2020. End of 2020, I was 280.
Oof.
That was COVID fluff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I'm like, yo, why my clothes fit like that? Why these shirts fit like that?
Right.
Finally, I said, yo,
This is
it's
too
not the
much.
clothes.
Nah,
It's not the clothes.
This is me.
It's me, right?
Right.
So I had to have that conversation with myself. I was like, no, we can't do this. This can't be it. And it has to be something, it can't be external. It has to be you.
Right.
It has to be you willing
Right.
to make the change, willing to
Yes.
commit.
Yep.
Because like today, I had a 17-hour day yesterday. I just moved everything over a little bit to sleep a little more, to recharge.
Right.
I still got it
Yeah,
done.
got it done, right.
But yeah, I don't know if I could have done on 4 hours sleep. I would have just been like, you know, people are, oh, 2 hours sleep. But yeah, you're kind of a fraction of yourself, right? You're not at your optimum capacity. I'm big on being at my optimum capacity, whatever I'm doing. If I'm hanging out, we hanging out. If I'm working, I'm working. If we podcasting, we podcast. But
right.
you can get the best version of me.
Right.
And that is my commitment to the world, right? Like I want to be the best version. And you know, you're the perfect guy to talk to. I mean, sometimes, you know, we're not okay. Sometimes we're not 100%.
That's the truth.
But if you're in touch with that, be like, yo, I'm not 100, but I'm gonna try.
Right. And we've
That's
had
better.
and we've had
Yeah.
personal phone conversations
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
I'm like, yo, bro, I'm here.
I don't know how to
but
do this.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know how I'm gonna
this.
figure
Yeah.
it out, but I'm here,
Yeah.
you know.
And that's okay, right? That's okay. That's a big thing because people feel like people, I'm sure they hit me all the time. Yo, you always up. I'm not always up.
No.
But it's how I deal with it, right? Like, there's days that the world feels heavy.
Right.
There's other days the world feels light. You just gotta, you know, keep going, keep moving, one step at a time, keep going. Because I feel that we all go through it. I mean, 50 says depression is a luxury. I agree and disagree. I know that, you know, if you have hormonal imbalances, then I cannot, you know, there's nothing I could say. I can't understand it. I can only appreciate it. But I also understand that sometimes we tend to try to blame other things instead of it being the thing.
Right.
Me going back to my shirts and my clothes, saying, yo, what's up with these shirts? Why they fit like that? Because, bro, you like 280, you almost 300 pounds at 6'3", bro. You're a fluffy boy. And, you know, and I had to have it. Nobody else could tell me. I had to tell me. I had to tell me. Like, and if you would have told me, I'd be like, yo, fuck you. I'd be mad at you, right?
Right.
But I had to look in the mirror hard and have that hard conversation, or that hard look at myself and have that hard determination, bro, what are you going to do? What you going to do? And you had a thing with your heart. I didn't have a thing, but I have a lot of shit runs in my family. My mother with the strokes, a lot of my aunts, uncles, like we have a history with diabetes. So I'm like, I know better, I should do better, right? And so I am the outlier in my family. Most of my family don't look like me. And I love them, I love you anyway. but you know, again, that's okay too, being an outlier. Like everybody feels like, well, I don't want to say everybody. People feel like other people are gonna judge them.
Right.
And they will, and that's okay. If you're being true to you, who cares? Right? If you're being a good father, and other guys are talking about going out, and you talking about, yo, I'm gonna take my son to play basketball. Yo, who can relate to you? You're a single dad raising 3 boys by yourself. You have a very small niche of guys that could really be like, yo, I hear you, bro. Like, do you need help? Like, do you get that call? Do you ever get that call? Yo,
No.
you know what I'm saying? But no, but you know what I'm saying? Like that,
Right.
yo, somebody said, yo, I'll take the kids to the thing today. Wow. Like that would be like so helpful, but most people can't appreciate it because they've never done it.
Right.
You know, it's almost going and saying, you know, I've had certain losses in my life. I haven't had the same losses, but I can appreciate because I've had hard
losses.
I've had hard loss. And going back to you taking a heavy weight, man, and I salute you. And I'm glad you're on the show today. And I only want to talk about the good things, but I also want to acknowledge that it's not by luck or just fortune. It's by design, right? By constantly creating, going forward. You've always been very careful with your words. In all the conversations we've had, on camera, off camera, you're always very selective with your wording. And I think the power of the word is something that I'd like to talk to you about because words become things, right? Right. So can you elaborate on that? Like, what was your aha moment when you thought, yo, man, I gotta change the way I'm treating this? Like, and what I mean by treating is your life. Like, I gotta stop treating it like this.
Yeah, I think the biggest moment happened recently.
Really? Okay.
And it was more or less me starting to measure the time in life based on how old my children were.
Okay.
And so when I started, like my oldest turned 14, my oldest son turned 14, my youngest son turned 10, my middle son is about to turn 13. And I'm like, man, what
Where did time go?
Where did time go? But what am I accomplishing in all of this time? They're getting 21, 25, like this time. What am I accomplishing? Because, yeah, I remember now, and I'm okay to talk about it now, but I was going through a divorce pre-COVID.
Right.
So when COVID hit, and now I'm no longer this full-time entrepreneur, right? And
You had to pivot.
I had to
and
pivot,
re-engage.
and I'm spending all my energy and all my time trying to figure out not necessarily what dad life is, but what is life raising children, right?
Yeah.
Financially, spiritually,
Still trying to,
emotionally.
Still trying to be an entrepreneur,
and
but now
still
have to
trying to be an
figure sport out.
entrepreneur. So like even I started thinking, I'm like, man, like I'm looking at all my close friends and I'm like, man, they're doing so well. We were all kind of like at the same point and they're all doing so well. And I want them, I'm glad because they were just motivated. I just took 4 or 5 years and dumped it into my children to make sure that they were okay just in general. And it wasn't until maybe like mid to late last year, I was like, okay, my boy's okay. It's time for me to like really get back into
You give
the
them
swing.
a foundation,
Yes,
right? You give them a
yes,
foundation
yes. So
in there.
then now they're understanding life a little bit more. They can move a little bit more on their own. They getting responsibilities, things like that. They're not as demanding as they used to be. And so now I'm like, okay, great. Now I can get back into building a business because one of the most powerful things my mentor, Les Brown, said when I called him and this is like when everything started. This thing changed my life, man. He said, Jermaine, all right, you're a single dad, you're raising the boys, and you're an entrepreneur with multiple businesses. You have to create the business in such a way that it doesn't take the time away from being a father, and you have to be a father in such a way that it doesn't take time away from your business.
Jesus. Yeah.
And I'm
big.
like, whew,
Like, what do you
sounds
mean?
good.
What do you mean?
Right? Sounds good, but now I understand what he means. Because, you know, we live in a society where it's like a man, I'm just zeroed in, I'm focused, and everybody's got to suffer until I win. And then, you know, we got these dark moments and these high moments, but, you know, I was just putting all my energy in that. There's no balance. No, there is a balance. And my balance is I figured out how to build a business and still be an impactful father. Because I didn't want my children to be like, yo, my dad was a multi-millionaire, but when it came down to us, I didn't even
We just
really see it.
byproducts.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, that's big because some people, it just depends on who you are and where you are in life, right? Because certain times, certain things need more attention.
Right.
But I think going through a divorce and it just kind of refocuses you like, yo, all right, this part needs my attention right now.
Right,
This
right.
could be, because, you know, you don't want them to feel any type of way either.
Right.
Right. And I think that, you know, we're almost like firefighters that way.
Right,
We're dealing,
right.
what's the biggest
Right,
issue right
right,
now? Well,
right.
let me deal with that.
Right,
And then
right.
and you de-escalate. But all right, let's talk about publishing now.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your business.
Yeah.
So you published many authors. I don't have any of my books with me, but he's my publisher.
Right.
The H and Hard Money, get one now. All right. How many books have you published for yourself?
Personally,
Personally.
I've written and published 4 best-selling books on my own.
And what are they? What's the topic of them? Like,
They're all self-help motivation.
right,
Yeah. I was inspired.
self-development.
Yeah, so I was inspired. Like I just mentioned, my mentor Les Brown. That's a whole nother story in of itself. I think we might have talked about that on the last podcast. But we were at an event one day, and you know, he like kind of pulls me to the side. He's like, Jermaine, where's your book? Like he's just so random. It wasn't
like, what?
random, but it was random. And I'm just like, what do you mean? Like what?
What book?
I mean, I thought about writing a book, but and so he goes, you don't understand. If you're gonna be a speaker, you have to have a book, and here's why. There's gonna be people's lives that you'll impact with your words long after you're gone. I never really looked at it that way, right? Like I just like, okay, yeah, cool, that's cool. So he said, here's something I'll motivate you with. If you write the book, I'll write the forward.
Nice.
So I'm like, okay, well, Les Brown writing the forward to
I got
my
blessed.
book.
I got blessed.
I'm gonna get it done. So it took me 2 years to write that book, and the journey of writing Wake Up and Win and all of that stuff. And then we finally published a book, and then COVID hits. We were going on a 16 cities tour.
Wow.
Me, Les, and a few other people, and it was called Wake Up and Win.
So
by the
this
way.
was gonna be like you're coming out tour. This is gonna change your life.
This was gonna change. This is what everybody wakes up to want to have
to
at
wanna
some
have
point in
happen,
their life.
right.
And then COVID hits.
Right.
And so we had to no longer speak and all of that stuff. And now I'm sitting in my house. I'm like, well, what am I going to do now?
Right.
Right. And so the kicker to this was I was watching CNN Constant Negative News, and I was getting ready to turn it off. Right.
Yeah.
We got George Floyd riots, shooting, violence, robbery, first term of President Trump, and all this stuff going on.
Racism prevalent.
Right, it's going crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm getting ready to turn this off. I need to do something. Before I turn the TV off, the cameraman zeroes in on something that changed my life. There was this guy in the midst of the fires and the looting, the honking, the camera crew, everything that's going on.
The mess.
He's sleeping on a bench with the covers pulled over his eyes. And I don't think you understood what I just said. There's all this chaos going on. He's sleeping on a bench. He's in another galaxy.
Right.
And I'm like, that's it. People need to wake up to live.
Right.
Like, I understand the times, but you gotta wake up. You still living. He don't want to deal with it with the covers pulled over eyes. So I get up, I go in my office. 6 days I'm in my office, I write Wake Up and Live.
You wake up and win.
Wake Up and Live, the second
Wake
one.
Up and Live,
Yeah,
all right,
it's
my
the
bad.
second
Okay.
one.
So it took you 6 days. It took you 18 months.
2 years for
2
the
years
first
the first one.
6 days, I'm fired up.
Right, you ready?
And what was so powerful about that is my other mentor, I call her my spiritual mom, Diana Nightingale, who's the widow of the late Earl Nightingale.
Okay.
We formed an incredible relationship over the last 10 years. I said, hey, would you be able to write this forward for me? And she said, absolutely. So she writes that forward. Then I wrote Unshakable Focus, and in my last book, The Magic Power of Your Inner Conversations. And Don Green, who's the CEO of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, wrote the foreword to that book.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it was like, those were like all my inspirations when I listened to Audible and read books. It was like Earl Nightingale, Think and Grow Rich, that whole Napoleon Hill, Less, and all of that stuff. So that's pretty much how I built my whole, library and self-help development. It was through those three people, Napoleon Hill, Earl Nightingale, Les Brown. And so to have them, write forwards to my book, it was
it's
incredible.
a testament to your journey, man.
It was incredible.
Let me ask you a question. Who do you feel is the biggest demographic of reading or consuming your content, of your books?
It's interesting. When I was on my way here, I was
That's
listening.
an on-purpose question.
No, I got you. I was on my way here, and I was listening to The Strangest Secret, but not The Strangest Secret. It's like a part after The Strangest Secret, where Victor Konitz talks about the process or the progress of The Strangest Secret, the record, how it came out, how it was the first motivational self-help record that sold over 1 million copies. Like, he's like going on this, but this is what was so powerful. He goes, the people that we thought needed to hear The Strangest Secret wasn't the people buying The Strangest Secret, right? The people, like, I'm thinking, your life is based, like, you need help. That's not the people who were buying The Strangest Secret. People who were buying The Strangest Secret were already successful, motivated, living the life of their dreams. They wanted more of that stuff. But the people who weren't were the people who were like, we got to give them the material. They got to get it. They missing the whole point.
You're trying to force feed them.
Right. So the demographics of the people who purchase the books, they're all entrepreneurs, they're all successful, they're all motivated. They may go through their ups and downs, their trials and tribulations, but their focus really is, how do I remain consistent, constant at what I'm doing, or how do I raise to the next level in my life? So those are the people that are buying the self-help motivational books, the people that are already, this is a part of their life.
People are already in momentum. They're
Right.
moving already,
Yes,
right?
they got, yes.
So if you come, the question, like, the reason I posed that question, because I was talking to my boy, Chris Laura. I don't know if you know him. Chris works. And his big thing is, financial literacy. He feels that poverty is really the biggest impact on our people, our cultures, because of what they make is what they can eat, because of what they can eat is what they can see, because
Right.
it's
It's all,
circle,
yes,
right?
yes,
It's all related,
yes.
and I agree with that. But I come from nothing, right? So you can't pull yourself through.
Yes.
And I find it, and I say that to say this to you, like, I get DM, the call, like, I go to Lifetime in Harrison. There's kids that work with my son, who was a lifeguard there, and they'll be like, yo, that's your father? Yo, man, I want to hit him on a DM. I'm going to ask him questions about, like, what books I should read. Like everybody's looking, bro.
Right,
And the unfortunate truth is, I believe that we both have a certain level of consciousness, right? We can see past
Yes.
the matrix. When I was young, you know, in my early teens and stuff like that, I was like, I was living hip hop, right? Because that's all you knew. Everybody in hip hop at that time was trying to escape poverty.
Right.
Like that's the difference I see in hip hop now is very.
Yes.
I know we're going like all over the place, but I believe we were all talking about the same thing, right? And now we have some icons like Jay and all, they're multi-billionaires, and that's cool, and they're doing their thing in their own way. I'm doing my thing in my own way. Whatever small impact I can make, I want to make, and so are you. But I feel that it's almost like some people want to stay where they're at.
Right.
And I don't know if it's because, going back to what I said to you about like dieting and stuff, like how you influence people without even doing stuff, I feel like they need to be around, whether it be virtually through YouTube, Instagram, whatever, they need exposure, right? I think that's what it is. They need exposure because the same way we were exposed to certain things and we got conditioned to thinking certain things were supposed to be this way, I think we can reverse engineer that to a certain point. But of course, going back to you, people have to be like aware, right? Like, because I've sat with some closed-minded people. I'm like, bro, my ideas are not gonna come through.
Yeah, it's not. I think one of the biggest things that I feel that turned my life around was when I asked myself questions. What do you want to have? Who do you want to be? What do you want to accomplish? Where do you want to go in your life? Those are questions, believe it or not, you're never gonna get asked, right? Like, so how can I then take this and allow my imagination to do what it's supposed to do and come back and say, like you talked about the kid who wants to have this house, who wants to have this car, who wants to travel the world, who wants to do all of these
and now
things.
they know it's possible.
Right, but the question is never asked.
Right.
So I just assume this is the way life is supposed to be, and this is the results that I'm getting based on that.
I mean, we could deep dive into like the housing projects, right? Like how the government, Robert Moses, created housing projects to be on the outskirts, making it hard to get to, out of the way, without access to things. And then you look at them, to me, and I'm not shitting on, yo, if you're there, I get it. I want you out. I want you out.
Right, of course.
But they're so, like, my grandparents lived in projects. Like,
so my great
if you go in there, you're like, they're like prison cells, bro. Cinder block. Like, there's no sheetrock. It's I think about this now. Like, when I was a kid, you know, it is what it is, right? People peeing in the elevator, you know, people getting robbed outside. It was just crazy. And I'm like, nah, man, this is not it. This is not it. This is not it, man. And it's unfortunate, but it is fortunate. Now we have the internet where we could, if we're lucky, somebody will run across our reel, and they're like, oh, they look like us. What are they talking about, right? And oh, well, you know, he came from nothing. Like, why can't I? And it sparks that. It sparks that maybe the one question that, like Jermain says, the magic and the mystery, right? It sparks that magic, like, yo, I want how do I do this? How do I do, going back to the conversation we had off camera, we have a kid who's actively pursuing that, and you know, as a human, you want to help people, right? You want to help, but the binary construct to that is also, you can only help those who want to be helped, because they'll come to you. I want to do this. I want to have Gucci sneakers. All right, well, we have to do this. Oh man. Every day.
And I think that's what the challenge is, right? The challenge is, I do see this. I do see the material manifestation of.
I see the results.
Right. And I want that.
Yeah.
It looks great. But when am I willing to do the necessary things today that others won't do so I could have the things in the future that others won't have? Not necessarily.
Yeah, and then you couple that with the new generation of instant gratification through social media, through Amazon, through all that. And it decouples things. Like, who said it recently that I was like, damn, that's harsh. I forgot who it was, but he was like, yo, man, if you want it, it's so much easier now. Because nobody's working.
Nobody's working.
Not like before. Not like we were all clawing to get out. Nah, they're like, oh, it's too hard, man. I'm just do this, or I'm gonna be a YouTuber.
I'm gonna try to shift this and then
I'm gonna try to solve the riddle that nobody solved before. And what you're trying to do really is trick yourself out of any work. Right. And that's what I see as an OG, right, or Unc as they call me now. I see that, I'm like, nah, man, you got to do this every day. Like, oh, how'd you lose so much weight? Well, I watched my diet. I've been burning more calories than I'm consuming
Right,
every day.
right.
You know, I fat burn this, that, you know,
What,
the
right,
whole thing.
Yep.
Oh, that's hard.
Right.
Well, if it was easy, everybody would look like a fucking
Exactly,
superhero.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And going back to like physical impression, right? Like in my business, fitness is not a big deal. Like
Right.
it's like mortgage people and real estate people, they're for the most part, they're not in that life.
Right.
So when I walk in for a meeting with like a potential client or something like that, they're like, "Oh shit!" Like you know, you
Right.
walk in and there's a level of respect
Right.
because
Of what
there's
you
a,
take care of
there's a
yourself.
discipline, right? So like, yo, you didn't get there by mistake. So this guy's a serious dude, and I say that to say to people that those investments you make in yourself pay dividend without you even realizing.
Correct.
Right? Because you see a guy in the gym like, oh, my man, it's been all right.
Right, he's
What's
been
he
doing
doing?
something. Yeah,
What's he
yeah,
doing?
he's
Because
doing something. Right.
I gotta step my game up, and
Right.
it's all aspirational. It doesn't have to be taking away. Like,
Right.
oh, he's big. Oh, I hate him. Some guys are like that too. Some guys are like insecure like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? All right, we talked about that. We talked about publishing. Let's talk about mindset.
Right.
What would you leave the new generation? Like, what do you try to get through to your new? I mean, you have boys, right? So, I find it funny where, like, I'll talk to some of my friends' sons, and it could be your sons. Let's just use this example, right? You'll tell them, is it Bryce, one of them?
No, Jermaine,
Jermaine.
Jaden, and Jonathan.
All right,
Yeah.
let's say Jermaine.
Yeah.
I want you to do this. All right, Dad. All right. He doesn't do it. Then he meets me one day. He's like, I was like, Jermaine, you should try this. And he comes back to you, Dad.
Right.
Oh, just dropped some crazy shit on me.
Right.
Like that's the funniest thing because it happens to me all the
right.
time. So why is it that we have such an influence on others and not the closest to us?
I mean, you know, I don't know if I have a problem with that when it comes down to my children.
Okay.
Right? Because I am like, they can't breathe off. But I think, you know, that's a great question.
That's even my own kids. I know I impress
Right.
on them. And it does because, like I told you before, they're always watching, right? So
I think the reality is
they're watching.
someone else comes in
right.
and it's like, oh, my dad did say that, so this must be true.
Okay. So there's a basis already, right? There's a basis there,
Right.
Gotta repeat and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe
This
it
gotta
is
make sense, right?
Making sense. All right.
Right.
And what would you say to somebody who wants to kind of change their trajectory in life?
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to.
Right.
But once they hear the work,
Yeah.
they kind of turn off. They're like, nah, I'm good here.
You know, I think when you understand, like, when you read history and like successful people, everybody started from somewhere.
Right.
Like if it was the lowest of lows or whatever, most successful people started from the lowest of lows.
Right.
You said, I didn't have it. I was a trust fund baby. My mom and dad trusted that I would fund myself. Right. That was a trust fund. Right. That was my trust fund. Right. So we've all started at some point. I think what happens is we start this low point and we just think that this is all there is to life. And I'm just not going to be able to overcome whatever this small moment in time is for me. So like if I don't have the funding, the finances, my credit isn't good, I'm just living.
And all that shit's temporary,
right?
guys.
It's all, we can't separate the fact that we're much more powerful than our adversity. And until we can, our mind can, because we have to rise to the level of our dream, not to the depth of what we're dealing with.
Rise to your level of your dream.
Right.
I like that.
So,
okay.
But if I don't know what my dream is, I'm always going to remain with whatever's going on in my life.
So you're saying if you don't have a goal,
right,
you're not going to hit the goal. You're just going to drift.
Right.
And I use that term a lot, drifting.
Yeah,
drifting,
whatever's going on in life, my circumstances, my adversity, the things that's going on, I'm going to spend the dominating portion of my life and my days trying to get rid of the circumstances instead of taking my energy and putting it into the place where I can become who I really want to be.
I know. I'll use this as an example. I remember I was 15. So I was always a good student, right? I'm good at taking information, retaining, taking tests. So, but I come from the hood. So my friends that I'd be on the street with were all in like D, E, F classes, right? And I was always the AB, right? So we'd be hanging out, in the back in the days, like before school, you'd be out there going crazy, playing
of course.
handball,
Yep,
whatever
right
you
before
did,
school
right?
started.
Yeah, you were a mess.
Basketball,
You probably bleeding,
Yep, everything.
and you get ready for school. And then when they say line up in the hall or the room or whatever you call it, the field, I'll be like, all right, fellas, see you later, and I'll go that way, right? And then so that happened for years. I just didn't. I don't even know, man. I just I had cousins that whatever like. Usually the AB classes were like, the immigrant Indian, the Asian, and then there was me. Like I was kind of like in the like I don't relate, but
I'm here.
I'm here.
Right.
Right. So then get older, we're in high school, and I remember I'm hanging out. Like, so this is, I'm gonna date myself, and you know what I'm talking about right now. When everybody's at the bodega, they're drinking 40s, they're smoking whatever they're smoking, and I don't smoke, right? I'm not into drugs. So I'm looking around like, nah, this can't be it, man. This can't be it. Like I started analyzing. I started analyzing my friends, my cousins, my family. All right, so you wake up, you get dressed in nice clothes, you get together with your boys, you scrounge together money to buy whatever you want to buy, whatever it's drinking, whatever vice you have. Then you mission accomplished, you do that. You're hanging out from the store. After it's over, then you're thinking about getting money again to get this thing. Like, I was like, yo, where we going? Like, this ain't for me. So that's when I started going back to the word outlier. That's when I started kind of drifting away. Not that it was never like a hate thing. It was like, just this ain't my tribe. This ain't where I'm going. I know where I was going because I just knew this wasn't it. Right. So the good thing about me is I kept trying different things. And luckily I got a lot of good friends that put me in good places to succeed. And I finally found myself, I was able, when I was like 20, 21, I was exposed to really high net worth people. I was a doorman. And you meet people, they're home and whatever. You start meeting people like I'm meeting like the chairman of American Express. He's a regular dude.
Right.
Hey, good morning. How you doing? Okay. Cyndi Lauper, like all these people. I'm like, okay, so they're just regular people. They have their own issues. Like, I'm in the elevator. What floor? That was my job. What floor do you want to go on? I press the button. Supposed to be quiet. You get on the floor, get off. But in those small moments you have conversations, right? And you understand that they're just like us.
Right.
They're facing whatever they're facing on their own terms. They just have access to different things.
Right.
And from that job, I was offered another job, and just because I was happened to be in proximity, right? So I'm a big believer in that and being in the right place. And going back to that conversation I had with the kid last week, he told me, he's like, there's nothing for me over here.
Right.
I don't know what you need me to do, but I'll just be there. I just want to be around there because I know that at least it's closer to where I want to go. Right. So how do you tell somebody, because you have like, there's so many different variations to this conversation. Like, I just want to be your assistant. I'll buy you coffee. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand, bro. Like, what I do, I couldn't train you because it takes too long, right? So now you're not thinking, you don't gotta pay me.
Right.
I can't. First of all, I can't pay you. I won't pay you because you're not qualified. But second of all, now you're slowing me down. Right.
Because I gotta teach you what.
Right. So you don't even know the vernacular. You don't even know the words that we use. So like, how do I start with that? So when people hit me up, I try to put them in I'm like, hey, read this book, read that book, read this, watch this movie. I give them a lot of different to kind of understand. Do you get approached like that?
Yeah.
And what is your course of action?
Usually I just try to find out what the person is looking to do, and what they are trying to accomplish. And like you, I will direct them to a page, a YouTube, an inspiration, a book, a course, a person that may be of more influence than me, possibly.
Right, something more in tune with their goals.
Something in tune with their goals. Because like you, I don't have the bandwidth to. Yeah. I got children that's
the word.
Taking
that's the word, bandwidth. Bandwidth is big.
I got that from therapy. Yeah. Okay.
All right, so the word came from therapy. Bandwidth? Okay.
But I already have my cup full with how I'm taking care of children every day, and then to take on other people in a sense.
Or other children, right? Whether they're younger or not doesn't matter. Just they need to be molded and guided.
So I just know what worked for me. When I wanted to get close proximity to Les Brown, I paid for the courses. I paid for the
Well,
seminars.
break that down, because let's
paid-
talk about that.
Right.
You paid to be at a seminar with Les Brown where you didn't have the money, or it was like your last dollar.
No, so I went to a seminar, I paid, and I was thinking that the package that I chose, I don't know, I wasn't reading, whatever, but the package that I chose was gonna get me to take a picture with Les.
Right.
When I got there, I got to the arena I probably was like the first 20 people in the arena. That's how early I got there thinking.
God bless,
Les didn't get out finally until like 7
2 hours
o'clock that
later?
night. I get there at 8 o'clock in the morning. Right? So anyway,
You prime, baby.
Right. Halftime, they like, all right, all the people come to take the picture with Les. I go up to the front. They like, you don't have
That's not the package.
That's not the package. Right. So I'm like, wait, I drove all the way to Philadelphia.
From where? From New York?
From New York to see Les. I was gonna tell him how much he impacted my life and blah, 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 blah. So
I had
go
an
back to the
experience
seat. Right. So I go back to my seat and I'm like, you know what? I don't need to see him live. I've seen him enough. I'm pissed. I'm going home.
Right.
And I sat in that seat that day and I watched him and I said, you know what? I don't know how I'm gonna meet him. I got no connections to him, but I'm not supposed to be in his life as a picture taker. I'm supposed to be in his life as a son.
Okay.
That's all I said. I wrote it down. I drove home, left it alone. A year later, same event, same conference in Newark, New Jersey now. Same
thing, everything. You
Just
get there
not
early
a-
again?
I didn't have to get there early.
Okay.
But I got there. I'm walking now on the stage behind Les. He turns around, gives me his phone, and he says, son, I want you to record me going out there.
Okay.
And I look at his phone and I'm like, he just called me son. Although the whole year before that, it was already going. But I'm like, man, I was at this event last year saying I wasn't supposed to be in his life as a picture taker. And now this is really
He
happening.
gave me the phone.
He's
Right.
giving me the phone.
He
This
called me
is
son.
He called me son. This is really happening.
Yeah.
It was a
Divine
and then,
intervention,
right,
baby.
like, and then all of this time later, we have this incredible relationship. But here's what was so powerful. Never do I call him and ask him for anything. Never. I'm always, how can I help him?
Yes. And that is the
and
secret.
even though it's Les Brown,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, how can I support? How can I motivate? What do you need? Can
How can
I
I
do
add
anything
value?
for you? How can I add
value? Yeah. And
value
that,
to
my
your life?
kids, is the secret. But go ahead. I don't want.
That's it. That's
I'm
it.
just,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no, I'm talking about in terms of relationships.
Yes.
How in business and personal.
Right.
How can I add value?
Right.
Right. It should never be about, hey, I gave you this,
And
give me $1, unless you're at the store. But if you're trying to build a real relationship,
Right.
you got to understand you're building
right.
a relationship.
And
So
it
how
comes
do you
with
build
trust,
something? By
right.
giving.
Right. And that's what I think is super impactful too. So I was having a conversation with someone recently and they were kind of frustrated. They're like, I'm giving all my time to this one individual and like, I'm not getting anything in return. And I said, well, that's not how you plant seeds. You plant them like this.
Right.
So that means that if you're giving like this to multiple people, the rewards is not gonna probably necessarily come from that one person.
Yeah.
It's gonna come from everywhere. So you gotta throw your seeds out, right? So, and I think that that's where we have to get to in our lives where it comes to giving, right? The more you give, it's a law. I give, I receive. I don't receive before I give.
Right.
And I might
That's
have
hard
to
to tell
give
people that.
I might have to give a lot before I receive.
Right.
Or something, right?
Right. And
Like-
what you get back is usually not what you thought you needed.
Exactly.
Right?
Isn't that powerful? That's
Yeah,
powerful.
yeah. Usually not what you thought you needed, but it was exactly what you needed.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah, no, I want to touch on that with you because that's especially important. Reciprocity is a big word I use.
Right.
But also the giving. So I've had a couple of conversations and I've had a couple of transactions where if you looked at it from the outside in, you'd be like, oh, Omar got the short end of the stick.
Right.
My goal is always to leave giving more than I got.
Right.
Why? I don't know. But that is who I am, not a reflection of what I expect, right? So I'm going to be the same guy with
Right.
5 people. Now, if the relationship is really bad, there won't be a second time around.
Right,
Like,
right.
I
We
got to
figured
go,
that out. Right, yeah,
going
we
to
figured that
protecting
out.
your energy. Be
Right.
like, all right, man, we're good, but that wasn't good for me. But that's the way you have to approach everything. You have to just give and be like, yo, man, no, dope. If you think of a way,
Right.
like we talked off camera, I was like,
Right.
this is what I'm trying to do.
Right.
I'm not gonna say names, but if we're all doing things, creating waves together, we can make a real big
Right,
wave,
right,
right?
right.
And that's the whole goal, collaboration. That's my word for 2025, collaboration. Not enough people think that way.
Right.
And I feel that most people that don't think that way come from a level or a place of scarcity. I don't know why. And I want to touch on one more thing. I know different levels of wealth. I know guys that are super uber wealthy, like Bill, they're touching bees, right?
Right.
I know guys that probably worth like 50, but probably could have been worth 100
Right.
if they didn't. The question here is being asked to myself is, who do I want to be? It could have been 100 if they were more like, just like cutthroat, right. And I look at myself, and I've hung with both types,
Right.
and I'm gonna tell you right now, I think I'm more the one on the right. Like, I might not touch the Billy, not because I can't, but because I might not be willing to do what certain people have done, or cut people off, or just a lot. Like, I want to say grimy shit, but there's just some things my integrity won't allow me to do. Right? I'm like, nah, it's not right. He should be in the deal. No, he shouldn't be. He should be in the deal. Or the same way, or somebody be like, oh, I'd be like, yo, I saved you 600,000. I think I should get 200. No, I don't think you should. All right, so respectfully, I'm out. No problem.
Right.
But I'm cool with it. Like, other people be mad. Oh, we should sue. We should do that. I'm like, if you can do it once, it's luck.
Right.
If you can do it continuously, it's skill.
Right.
So I've done it.
You're an expert.
It's done multiple times.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm not scared of not getting my shot again.
Right.
It's gonna appear because I stay in motion.
Yep.
How do you get that message to people? Because sometimes it's very binary. Sometimes people are, nah, man, it's $5 or whatever the number is. You know what I'm saying? How do you get people to see past that? Like, I try to get people to see the intangible, right? Like, listen, I can make a phone call and be somewhere and it's all good. It's not based on the money.
Right.
It's based on the loyalty
Right.
and respect I gave my client during the time. And they appreciate that as a human being.
Right.
Other people be like, yo, fuck that. I'd rather have the money.
Right.
But having all the money by yourself gets lonely.
Yeah.
I've seen that. Like, you got kind of build almost like a prison for yourself if that's your only thing.
Yeah.
Right? If that's your only pillar, if that's your only metric, money. Yeah, you'll be able to cut checks and stuff like that, but you don't build loyalty that way. You don't build true relationships with people, even with their kids. Their kids look at them as transactional cashiers. Yo, dad, I need $1 million for this. I'm like, what? And he's like, well, it doesn't make sense to me. It becomes, I've seen these conversations, like, just business.
Right.
I'm like, damn, but that's your son. You gotta kind of,
Right.
you gotta, I told him that you gotta let him make the mistake.
Right.
He's like, but I don't understand. I was like, it's not for you to understand. It's for him to understand. And it's for you to just be there when it goes well or it goes bad.
Right.
But they won't ever have those deep relationships that you have with your son, and hopefully I have with my kids, because we take the time and we're looking past just the top. We're like I tell my son all the time, listen, my job as a father is to show you how I do it.
Right.
And one day you'll be in charge of your family. Right. And some things I did well, some things maybe not so well. You try to throw out the shit that I didn't do well and try to keep and build on your own thing. But a lot of, like, I grew up with a single mother. What about you? Right. So what's funny is that we've taken the job of being a father so seriously.
Yes.
Because there was a whole generation that was fatherless. Like,
whole generation.
Shout out, because like a lot of people don't know that.
No.
They don't know. They be like, oh, you live with your mother and your father? Or you have two dads? Like your stepfather? I'm like, yeah, man. Like my son, my middle son was getting married to him. He tells his friends, I have two dads. And they're like, oh, your father's gay? He's like, no. I have my mom, my pops, and my and my pops in the other house. And they're like, you don't have one? Like, because we never made it weird.
Right.
We never made it weird. And that was, my generation, that was tough, because Latin households are very like, machismo. They're like, oh, that's my son. I was like, nah, man, listen, I'm with you. Like, I raised him since he's one. So to me, he's my son.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm with whatever you need me to be.
Right.
You want to talk to me? Cool. You don't want to talk to me? That's cool too. Like, you want to have a relationship with him? That's cool. You don't want to have that? Like, I'm not trying to sway you. I'm just here. But being there is a powerful thing for kids.
Right.
Just being in their corner.
Of course.
It gives them a sense of confidence.
Of course.
That they're able to, like, further explore, right? Because raised by a single mother, she was always like, oh, be quiet, oh, be scared, we don't and you're like, yo.
I'm like, yeah, this is crazy.
Yo, what the fuck is this?
Right.
What can I do, right? It becomes that, right? But goes back to the scarcity mindset. That's what creates it. What creates it is the programming you have when you're a kid.
Right.
And, eventually, when I went to college and I saw how the world worked, it wasn't just I go to my job, get paid per hour. Like, it was a lot bigger.
Right.
Like I learned about leverage. I learned about.
Right.
I'm like, nah. We could do this. We could do this. And then I was the first one. We got a house. Like I initiated all that. And she's like, how do you do that? Like, don't worry, I got you. I'll just sign here.
Right.
And all that. So there's that one, right? That breaks the thing. So you're that one for your kids, and you're probably excited for where they're gonna go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We don't have our standards in our house are very high. But
As they should be.
But what I instill in them is that you can be whoever you decide you want to be in life. There's no limits to what you could have.
Right.
And they're confident, and they take that out into the world. They don't. That's the reports that I get back from their teachers and their classmates and all that stuff. They don't have no restrictions on what they want to accomplish. But one of the most powerful conversations I was having with my son, I asked him if he wanted to go to college. So what do you want to do? He's like, Dad, I don't really know if college is for me. And I sat there, I didn't say anything. Because I don't feel that going to college is going to determine whether you're wealthy or not. Right? Like, is that because I didn't finish college, right? It's an experience. So I said, okay, well, if you don't want to go there, what is the next thing you would want to do? Like, what are you going to, because you're not going to stay here with me. He's like, well, Dad, I want to be an entrepreneur.
Okay.
But okay. We'll have a conversation once we start to go to get
Well,
through middle
they are
school.
what they see, right?
Right.
They are
And I
what they
said,
see.
but the fact that that was in his thought process, and not to say I wouldn't want him to go to college or things like that, but the fact that that's where he's thinking, I don't want to work for nobody, Dad. I want to start my own business. This is all I see. This is all I know. And I'm like, you can do whatever you put your mind to, because I'm a living witness of that.
Right, you're a living testament, and also, I mean, as long as they understand that there's discipline and ethic that comes behind it. I mean, of course, they see it,
Right.
but seeing it and doing it,
It's two different
things, right? And sometimes, like, that is the lights, right? They see the lights,
They see the lights,
and then they're like, what's powering the lights? And you see all the work, and that. Listen, man, it is what it is. Like, they see you do it, and they're front row. They're front row, so they know. And then you take them to play ball. I watch you. You're doing a lot of stuff. Like, so they know it's possible. It's just how bad do you want it? Going back to where people ask me, yo, how do I change this? I was like, yo, you know what? When you know what's gonna happen, man? Like, what? Like, I'm gonna tell him a secret. I'm like, you know what's gonna happen? He's like, what? When you want it bad enough, when there is no fucking other option, when you don't see any other reason. But your outcome, that's it.
That's it.
And unfortunately, I tell them, usually that happens in crisis.
Right.
Usually you get something gets taken away.
When the fire's burning.
Yeah. Somebody takes something away, all of a sudden you want it.
Yep.
But you had it all this time.
That was it.
It happened with my son with school. Like he de-enrolled from my owner at one point. He didn't do something right. So he said, I'm gonna go back. Well, actually, me and his mom said, you're going back, bro, because you're not doing much.
Right.
You're not doing much.
Right.
And they were like, well, you didn't de-enroll right. So we're gonna have to not let you come back until you do certain things. So he had to scramble and figure it out. And as a father, I'm sweating. I'm like, I want to fix it. I want to fix it, but I know he has to go through it. He has to go through it. And I'm like this, and I'm like, you're like, because you gotta stay cool, right? You gotta stay. But as a parent, you never want to see your kids suffer. Right. I talk about this all the time, but they have to learn lessons.
Right.
They have to learn lessons.
Important.
And as a father, that is perspective is a little different than a mother, I believe, because a mother is more nurturing.
Right.
And not that we're hard, but we're supposed to teach them
how
the world works and how they're gonna present to the world. And walk, like I tell him all the time, he plays basketball with me sometimes. He's meeting like 60 guys. And all different men in different ways, and he's like, Dad, why is he like that? I'm like, well, I say he's probably unhappy at home, But I'm breaking down personalities for him.
He's gonna see this in life,
right? But him going with me, even I have him go sometimes when I do like the mixtures and stuff like that. I have him do the books, and he's looking and he's like, yo, what's that? And they have a lot of questions. They have a lot, and I think that's the most powerful way, by practicing.
Exactly.
Right, not by lecturing. Hey man, you should do it.
Right.
I'm like, all right, man, come on. I need some. I'm paying you $20 an hour. I'm paying you $20 an hour. This is what I want you to do. I break it down. I'm not telling you again. This is what you're doing. He's like, oh, yeah, I got it. And they feel empowered. They're like, yo, I got a job. Do my thing.
Right.
And they do it. And I think, to me, that's been the easiest way. So you might take your boys out to the books.
I'm have to do that.
Be like, yo, guys, you gotta sell 10 books. Like, you gotta put little goals on them, and they see how it works. Because he's like, yo, people come up to you and, they always want to vibe with you. I was like, well, because I'm approachable, right? And that's on purpose.
Right.
I said, because at the end of the day, being an entrepreneur, being a bank owner or whatever, I'm a salesman.
Right.
At the end of the day, I have a product. If nobody wants my product, I don't make
in
money.
trouble. Yep.
Right. So we have to make sure people they feel like confident enough to approach me and not like scared or thrown off. So you gotta, I told them it's a method. It's a method. It's on purpose, right? And I told him also, you gotta meet people where they are.
Right.
Like he sees, like he's like, oh, you were at that JP Morgan event. You're talking to this guy. And he's like, your vocabulary is this way. I was like, whoa, I went to school.
Right.
So yeah. And then when I go to another event and it's a college kid, I can't talk like that. I have to meet people where they are for them to understand my message.
Right.
And that's a tool too. That's a skill too, man. Like these are all these skills that I don't know if they're taken for granted or just not understood, or they just want to, like, people just want to like look over them and act like they don't exist. But just the way we met.
Right,
we met.
right.
You. I was like, yo, I want to do that.
Right.
Remember?
That's it.
It was
That's
random.
it.
It was
That
like,
was
hey,
it.
what do you do? I was like, yo, I want to do that. Let me give you a card.
Yep. And that was it.
Men of action. We got together. We got it done. Made it happen. Like, I don't know if that's usually the way it is with you and your authors, but that's the way I am. Like, if I say I want to do something, we do it.
That's
like,
it.
We'll figure, like, how do we do this, right? We had a,
Right.
I was like, how does this work? All right, let's make it happen. And we made it happen. And at the end of the day, I think that's how things get done, by taking action.
Absolutely.
All right, listen, today's episode, sponsored by Green Life. I know it's late on it. Here, grab your water, bro.
My water.
By Green Life in Mamaroneck. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mark. Jermaine, if people want to reach you, where can they get you? Please speak to the camera and tell them.
You can get me on all social media channels at Jermaine Miller. Also, you can find me online at jmpublishingllc.com.
I did one book with him, The Ancient Hard Money. I think if I do another book, which might happen, it would be The Mindset of a Millionaire. I just came up with a title.
Oh, that's
The Mindset of a Millionaire, only because, and it's not about the denomination of the money. What I feel is that most people, they want the end result. They don't understand what it takes. And sometimes, I'll give you a couple of jewels. You have to lose to win, right? Sometimes you gotta invest money, lose money, just to be in the right room or around the right people, to learn the skills you need to take yourself to the next level. People, he's allergic to me.
Yeah.
People don't understand that, but I mean, that might be the next book. You heard it here first, right? Ask Louis Omar, all platforms. Hit you soon.